Eskom board chairperson Mpho Makwana will be leaving the embattled power utility. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has announced that Makwana will step down at the next annual general meeting scheduled for end of October. The ministry says current Eskom board member Mpho Makwana will act as chair. Joining us now is energy analyst Chris Yelland, and he is of course an EE business intelligence and also the independent energy advisor to Outer. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. I'm going to start first with your reaction to this latest statement.
Well, there's no doubt that this adds to the significant difficulties that Eskom has been facing. They have no permanent CEO in place. And it was first announced this evening that Mr. Nyati would be an interim chairperson. It has then been subsequently corrected to say that no, he's not an interim chairman, he is the chairman. So that was a quick correction by the DPE to their initial press release. But it is a sign of internal turmoil and not a good time to have further changes, at the board level. I mean, the board was only recently appointed, I think, about a year ago. But I think there has been, I've heard, from high political sources, that there has been a growing disappointment and disillusionment in the role of Mr. Makwana as chairperson of Eskom. And we saw recently this, you could call it a spat, or shall we say, the Minister of DPE, rejected his proposal for the new CEO of Eskom. And that was a kind of signal of some disagreement between the shareholder representative, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, and the chairperson, who was appointed by the Minister of DPE only a year ago.
And this particular deterioration, I mean, as you say, in their relations, we've seen it, in public, as some reports have been suggesting, and listening to what you're saying as well. From what you're hearing from inside, is this what possibly tipped him off?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons, but I think even before that spat about the appointment or the recommendation of the new CEO, there was this growing disillusionment. One can also see it, by the way, I mean, if you were to read Andre de Ruyter's book, he gives some insights in the book, on the Eskom chairperson, and it's not very complimentary, I must say. And I've heard similar comments and negative feelings from not only within Eskom at a very high executive level, both past and present executives, but also at a political level, outside of Eskom, but in the politics of electricity in South Africa.
Now, when it comes then to all of these, because they can't be viewed in isolation as to what we are seeing happen with the state of the grid, how much of the politics is going to continue to have an impact on what we are seeing, particularly when you think about what is happening with the grid? A lot of people are still saying that we still need to see the back of load shedding, and yet we still see all of these still playing out.
Yeah, look, I think, underlying much of the decision-making problems within the electricity supply industry is the very complex, over-complex governance structure of the electricity supply industry. So we have, from the presidency through to the Minister of Electricity, through to the DMRE, the DPE, COGTA, the DFFE, and all these different ministries all have a hand in the, in the governance of Eskom and in the governance of the whole electricity supply industry. And even in the best of times, this would prove to be a very, very over-complex and onerous governance structure. But we're not in the best of times. We're kind of in some of the worst of the times. And this makes things immeasurably more difficult. And I think, this governance structure, a lot can be put at the table of the governance structure. And until we sort out this governance structure, we're going to be in this very slow and cumbersome and confrontational governance structure where, you know, there's not only disputes, intergovernmental disagreements about the way forward because they're not all on the same page, but it often leads to litigation. And litigation is usually a sign that the normal processes are failing. And then people are resorting to litigation. So litigation is something that we do face, and it's problematic, but it's a result of a dysfunctional governance structure.
And Chris, I hope we do get to speak sometime in the future just about this complex governance structure, because a lot of questions being asked about, you know, you look at the board, you look at the role of the minister, you look at the Minister of Electricity, you look at the Department of Mineral Resources. A lot of these are conversations that are also being held about what exactly is needed to deal with this particular issue of Eskom once and for all. But let me thank you so much for your time.